Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. My wife pointed at my face and screamed, "You're a psycho control freak, checking my location? Who do you think you are? The FBI." Vivian's voice was sharp as a knife, echoing through the living room. Her face was twisted beyond recognition. 7 years of marriage instantly turned into a courtroom confrontation. "I was just worried about your safety," I tried to explain. "Worried?" she sneered. "This is surveillance. You're treating me like a criminal." Tears came on cue, looking as aggrieved as if the whole world had wronged her. I gave in. That very night, I deleted all the tracking apps. Vivian snuggled into my arms and said, "Thank you, Tristan. I just need a little space." And like an idiot, I said, "It's okay. I trust you." 3 days later, when the bank called, I finally understood the price of trust. "Mr. Kane, your supplementary card has a charge of $4,600 in Seaside City. This amount was spent on the presidential suite at the Blue Diamond Resort. Can you confirm this was your transaction?" Seaside City? My blood ran cold. Vivian told me this morning, to my face, that she was attending a yoga retreat in our city. Our city and Seaside City? That's over 200 miles apart. "Sir." The bank representative was still waiting for my response. I said through gritted teeth, "I should never have deleted that tracking app." I immediately messaged Vivian, sending her a screenshot from the bank. 10 minutes passed, no reply. Half an hour, still no reply. She was playing dead. I sent a message directly to my mother-in-law, Margot. Margot's reply came quickly, but the content made me completely wake up. "Stay home and don't move. She'll handle it herself." Just one sentence, no explanation, no apology, no surprise. In that moment, I understood. This wasn't an accident. This was premeditated. I'm an anti-fraud auditor, someone who digs out the truth from scammers. Now, it was my turn to be the hunter. At 9 o'clock that night, the bitch came home. The moment Vivian pushed open the door, my eyes locked onto 3 fatal details like a scanner. First, her nails had changed style, from simple transparent to expensive French gradient. This style takes 3 hours. Since when do yoga retreats include manicures? Second, there was adhesive residue from an airport tag on her luggage handle. I glanced at it, a blue tag from Seaside Airport. Third, she was wearing a bracelet on her wrist that I'd never seen before, worth at least $15,000. Can a yoga instructor's salary afford that? "Honey, how was the retreat?" I stood up from the couch with a perfect smile on my face. A flash of panic crossed Vivian's expression, but she quickly recovered. "Exhausted. Those poses were really difficult. I just want to take a shower and sleep now." She turned to go upstairs, but I suddenly spoke up. "By the way, the bank called today. They said there was a charge on the supplementary card that exceeded the alert threshold." Vivian's steps halted, her shoulders visibly tensing. "What charge?" Her voice trembled. "Seaside City, Blue Diamond Resort. $4,600. I deliberately paused. "Can you explain?" The air instantly froze. Vivian slowly turned around, her face displaying the standard expression of being caught, confusion mixed with grievance. "Honey, the card must have been stolen. You know I've been in our city these past 2 days. How could I possibly be in Seaside City? If I didn't know the truth, I might have actually been fooled." "You're right. I've already asked the bank to investigate." I nodded, then dropped the bomb. "But I'm a bit curious. Why did your mother tell me to stay home and don't move? That she would handle it?" Vivian's face turned deathly pale. You contacted my mother?" "I just wanted to confirm your itinerary." I shrugged. "But your mother's reply was strange, as if you had already discussed it." Vivian rushed over and grabbed my hand. "Tristan, don't overthink it. Mom just thinks this isn't something you need to worry about. You know her personality. She always wants to protect us." Protect you from stealing my money?" I reached out and touched her face. "You're tired, go take a shower. I'll heat up some milk in the kitchen." Vivian kissed me with relief, then hurried upstairs. But this foolish woman didn't know that first, I had already activated the whole house recording system. As an anti-fraud expert, my attention to evidence rivals the FBI. Second, although I deleted the tracking app, Cloud Sync was still active, including those photos she had just hastily deleted. 10 minutes later, I sat in front of the computer, looking at the deleted files on the screen. The first photo, Vivian and a slick, pretty boy type raising glasses in a luxury suite. The background was the resort's presidential suite, paid for with my money. The second photo, the wild man's hand around my wife's waist, intimately embracing in a casino. The third photo, the moment that man kissed Vivian's neck. But that wasn't the most damning part. The fourth photo was a property deed document. Though blurry, I could recognize it as the property file for our house, with a clearly forged signature, my signature. This wasn't infidelity, this was robbery. This wasn't betrayal, this was premeditated fraud. The sound of a hairdryer came from upstairs. I quickly copied all the evidence and cleared the access traces. When Vivian came downstairs, I was already sitting in the living room, holding milk, with a peaceful smile on my face. The milk is on the table, still warm. Vivian sat beside me, resting her head on my shoulder. Tristan, I love you. I know I've been a bit emotional lately, but I'm really grateful you're willing to give me space. Love me? You love my money, my house, my credit card. I love you too. I gently stroked her hair. We're husband and wife. We should trust each other. But what I was thinking was, the game has just begun, Vivian. The next morning, I didn't go to work, but drove to a law firm instead. Harrison Barrett is an old friend of mine, specializing in financial fraud cases. Tristan, what brings you here? Harrison looked surprised. I threw a high-resolution version of the property deed photo on his desk. This signature, is it real or fake? Harrison studied it carefully for 5 minutes, then looked up. It's forged. Professional-level forgery, but still fake. The pen pressure and habitual strokes are wrong. If someone uses this signature for property mortgage, what are the consequences? Fraud, 3 to 7 years. Harrison's expression turned serious. Tristan, who do you suspect would do this? I didn't answer directly. If I want to legally protect my assets while letting the fraudsters walk into a trap, what's your advice? Harrison thought for a moment. Give me 48 hours. I need to check if there have been any unusual applications for your property recently. Also, you need to immediately set up an asset protection trust. I also went to the bank. Manager Serena pulled up all the records. Tristan, there is indeed a problem here. She pointed at the screen. 3 days ago, someone submitted an authorization letter requesting to add Vivian as a co-applicant for property mortgage. Just as I thought. The signature looks like yours. But, Serena frowned. Our system rejected this application because the submission time showed you were at work, and you were indeed in a meeting at the office that day. So their plan failed? Temporarily shelved. They requested additional identity verification, but haven't responded yet. I sneered. Serena, if they come back, notify me immediately. Also, I want to modify the account security level. All important operations must be confirmed face-to-face. Back home, I called my mother-in-law. Margot, it's me. What is it? Her voice was cold and arrogant. I'd like you and Vivian to come over for dinner tonight. We need to talk about family financial planning. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Talk about what finances? About a special income one just received. I deliberately paused. The company gave me an $800,000 project bonus, but it requires financial transparency in the family. I think Vivian should be more involved in our investment decisions. More silence. Then Margot's tone changed noticeably. $800,000? Are you sure? The documents are all in my study. But there's one condition. The company requires the beneficiary's family to be debt-free. Any concealed assets will result in the bonus being canceled. Margot answered almost immediately. Fine. We'll be there at 7 tonight. Greedy old witch mentioned money and she's all in. After hanging up, I began preparing for the evening's performance. I carefully forged a company memo. As an anti-fraud expert, I know how to make fake documents look incredibly real. At 7 o'clock, the show began. When Vivian came home and saw me busy in the kitchen, she asked, "Why are you in such a mood to cook today?" "I invited your mother. We need to talk about our future." I deliberately paused. "About that $800,000 bonus." Vivian's eyes instantly lit up. $800,000? What bonus? I led her upstairs and pulled out the forged document. Watching her expression change from confusion to shock to wild joy, I sneered inwardly. "Tristan, this is amazing." Vivian was trembling with excitement. "We can buy a bigger house, travel to Europe." "But there's a condition." I interrupted her. "The company requires zero debt, including your personal accounts, all investments, all loans. Everything must be completely transparent. If any concealment is discovered, the money is gone." Vivian's expression froze. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you need to bring out that money you've been transferring." I looked directly into her eyes. "I know you have a private stash. Now's the time to be honest." The doorbell rang. Margot entered, followed by an unfamiliar man. "This is Garrett, Vivian's old friend. I thought he should participate in tonight's discussion," Margot introduced. "Garrett? The wild man from the photos?" I gripped his hand deliberately hard. "I've heard so much about you. Vivian mentions you all the time." Garrett was visibly uncomfortable. "I have experience in investment consulting. Perhaps I can help." "Excellent." I smiled. "Please sit down. I'll get some documents." I went upstairs and took out the prepared materials from the safe. But just then, I heard whispers from downstairs. The recording system was working. I put on wireless earphones and listened to their conversation. Margot lowered her voice. $800,000? When did this guy get so rich? Garrett sneered. "Who cares? The house will be ours soon. Once he signs that new authorization, mortgaging the house will get us at least $2 million. Then after the divorce, he'll get nothing." Vivian hesitated. "But he's requiring financial transparency. What about our accounts?" Margot was impatient. "Are you stupid? Just make up an excuse that you lost it in investments. As long as he signs the authorization, everything will be fine." Garrett added, "Right, tonight's focus is getting him to sign. Nothing else matters." I sneered upstairs. "So that's it. The $800,000 was bait. The real goal was to get me to sign a new authorization." But what they didn't know was that what I prepared wasn't an authorization, but their death sentence. I went downstairs, documents in hand. "Come on, everyone take a look." I spread the documents on the table. "This is the company's bonus document. This is the financial transparency requirement. And this." I pulled out the last document, a blank asset declaration form. "The company requires the spouse to fill out a complete asset declaration. Vivian, you need to list all accounts, investments, and loans under your name." Vivian's face changed. "Why so detailed?" "Because this relates to $800,000. I shrugged. "If you find it troublesome, we can just not take the money." Margot immediately spoke up. "Not troublesome. What's troublesome about this?" "Vivian, just write it truthfully." Garrett also said, "Right. This is standard procedure." Vivian bit her lip and began filling it out. I watched her write down account after account, unable to suppress a smile. Each account was evidence of her asset transfer. Each amount was ironclad proof of her betrayal. After 10 minutes, Vivian pushed the form to me. "Done." I glanced at it, seeing 3 local bank accounts, totaling about $150,000. "That's all." I looked up. Vivian nodded. "That's all. Sure there aren't any others?" "Positive." I smiled. "All right, I need you to sign here, declaring that the above information is completely true. If there's any concealment, you're willing to bear legal responsibility." Vivian hesitated, but under the signaling eyes of Margot and Garrett, she signed. "Very good." I put away the documents. "Now let's talk about how to use that $800,000. Margot couldn't wait. "Tristan, I think the safest way is to invest in real estate." There are some good properties in the suburbs right now with high returns. Garrett echoed. Right? I happen to have a friend in real estate who can help find good projects. Sounds good. I nodded. But buying property requires a loan, right? Yes, Margot said. So we need to mortgage the existing house to get more money. The investment return will be higher. Here it comes. They finally showed their true colors. Mortgage our house? I pretended to hesitate. Won't that be risky? What risk? Margot was impatient. You'll never get rich being this conservative. Now is the time to invest boldly. Garrett pulled out a document. I happen to have a template for a property mortgage authorization. Take a look first. I took the document and carefully reviewed it. On the surface, it looked like a standard mortgage authorization, but there was one detail. The co-applicant column prominently listed Vivian and Margot's names. This meant that once I signed, they could handle this house behind my back. This co-applicant. I pointed to that line. Margot immediately explained, this is normal, because it's a family investment. Family members need to be involved in decisions. It's safer this way. Safer? Safer to kick me out? I understand. I nodded and picked up the pen. All three of them, Vivian, Margot, Garrett, their eyes brightened. I placed the pen tip above the signature line, then stopped. Oh, I just remembered something. What? Margot's voice was a bit anxious. About the asset declaration Vivian just filled out. I looked up. When I went to the bank this afternoon, Serena told me something very strange. The air instantly froze. She said someone submitted a property mortgage application in my name 3 days ago. At that time, I had no idea about any $800,000 bonus. Vivian's face turned deathly pale. What's stranger is, I continued, the signature on that application was very different from my real signature. Experts identified it as forged. Margot suddenly stood up. What are you implying? I'm implying. I threw the pen on the table. Before we discuss investing $800,000, I want to figure out who tried to steal my house 3 days ago. Garrett's face turned pale, and he stood up to leave. Sit down, I shouted coldly. Where do you think you can go? I took out my phone and pulled up those photos. Vivian, care to explain what these photos are about? The first photo, her and Garrett embracing at the resort. The second photo, Garrett kissing her neck. The third photo, that forged property deed document. Vivian collapsed onto the sofa, shaking all over. And this? I pulled out another document. This is the detailed report the bank gave me today. Vivian's supplementary card consumption records match Garrett's credit card records perfectly in time and location. Blue Diamond Resort in Seaside City, $4,600. High-end restaurant in our city, $1,200. Jewelry store, $15,000. That's the bracelet on your wrist. I read them out one by one, each one like a slap in the face. Margot tried to argue. These can all be explained. Explained. I cut her off. Then explain why Vivian concealed 2 overseas accounts on her asset declaration? What? Margot was stunned. I sneered. This afternoon I went to 3 banks and found all the accounts under Vivian's name. Besides the 3 she just declared, there are 2 Cayman Islands offshore accounts, totaling over $500,000. Where did this money come from? I stared at Vivian. Over the past year, did you transfer it little by little from our joint account? Vivian completely broke down, collapsing on the table in tears. But I didn't soften. And you? I looked at Margot. 3 months ago, you opened a shell company, right? Called Mercer Sterling Investment Consulting. Margot's face became even uglier. The shareholders of this company are you and Garrett. Your plan was perfect. First have Vivian transfer assets to offshore accounts, then mortgage my house with a forged signature, transfer the money into this shell company, finally have Vivian file for divorce and dump all the debt on me. You could walk away with at least $2.5 million, while I'd have nothing left. Garrett suddenly rushed toward the door, but someone was already waiting outside. The door opened, and 2 people in uniform walked in. Mr. Kane, We're from the city's Anti-Fraud Investigation Bureau. One of them showed his credentials. We've finished reviewing the materials you submitted earlier. The evidence is conclusive. I nodded. Thank you for coming so promptly. Vivian knelt down and grabbed my legs. Tristan, please. I was wrong. My mother forced me. I looked down at her. Vivian, stand up. At least preserve some dignity. Margot was still resisting stubbornly. What evidence do you have? This is all slander. I pulled out one last document. This is the call recordings and text message records from the past 3 months. How you discussed deceiving me, how you transferred assets, how you forged signatures, how you divided the spoils. It's all here. And tonight's recording. Every word you said downstairs, I heard it crystal clear. Margot's face instantly turned deathly pale. The investigators began collecting evidence and taking statements. But just then, my phone suddenly rang. It was Harrison. Tristan, this is bad. His voice was urgent. I just discovered that Vivian and her accomplices applied for a large credit loan in your name at another bank this afternoon at 2 o'clock. My heart tightened. What? $500,000 credit loan. Already approved. The money was transferred out an hour ago. I looked at Vivian, her eyes evasive. Where was the money transferred to? A company account called Sterling Trade. Opened this afternoon at 3 o'clock. I finally understood. These people weren't here to sign any property mortgage at all. They had already succeeded. Tonight's dinner was just to do the final cleanup. Get me to sign away my right to pursue legal action. Then they could disappear with the money. Vivian! I suppressed my fury. Where did you go this afternoon? She didn't dare look at me. You weren't home this afternoon, were you? You went to the bank and applied for a loan with a forged authorization. The investigator immediately intervened. Mr. Kane, this is a very serious situation. If true, this involves loan fraud with a large amount, potentially facing over 7 years in prison. Margot finally panicked. No, it's not like that. Then what is it like? I sneered. Did you think you could run after taking the money? That $500,000. I'll get back every cent. I immediately called the bank, requesting an emergency freeze on the funds. But they told me, Mr. Kane, that money was transferred out in batches an hour ago, into 5 different accounts. We're tracking them, but 2 of the accounts are overseas. My hand gripped the phone tightly. These bastards were more professional than I thought. Garrett suddenly spoke up. Tristan Kane, you think you've won? His expression became sinister. The money's already transferred, you'll never get it back. Even if you arrest us, we'll serve a few years at most, and we'll still have money to spend when we get out. And you, saddled with $500,000 in debt, can't keep your house and have to pay for this farce. Tell me, who's really losing here? I stared at him word by word. Are you sure the money was transferred? Garrett smiled smugly. You think we're idiots? Those 5 accounts are all overseas. You can't trace them. Is that so? I pulled out another phone and opened a banking app. Take a look at this. The screen displayed Sterling Trade account balance. $0. Transfer records. Intercepted. Pending review. Garrett's smile froze. How is that possible? Because 3 days ago, I already notified all the banks. I sneered. Any large loans or transfers in my name must be confirmed by me via video call. Your loan this afternoon, the bank did approve it, and the money was transferred. But, I paused, enjoying the terror on their faces. All receiving accounts are under my surveillance. As soon as the money was transferred, it was immediately intercepted by the anti-fraud system. Now the money is sitting in the bank's temporary account. Not a cent can be withdrawn. Margot collapsed on the sofa. Vivian's face was as pale as paper. Garrett was shaking all over. Moreover, I continued, you just admitted to loan fraud. The investigator heard it all. Now it's not 3 to 7 years, but 7 to 10. The investigator nodded. That's correct. Mr. Kane, you can formally file charges now. Vivian suddenly rushed over. Tristan, I really know I was wrong. I can return all the money to you. Those 2 offshore accounts, I'll give them all to you. Please spare me." "Spare you?" Pushed her away. "Did you ever think about sparing me? How long have you been planning this? 3 months? 6 months? Or have you been scheming since we got married?" Vivian sobbed uncontrollably. From 6 months ago, Garrett said he could help me with financial planning. Then my mom said you were too honest, should earn more money. So you came up with this perfect plan?" My voice was ice cold. "Infidelity, asset transfer, forged signatures, loan fraud, then make me take the fall?" Margot suddenly stood up, her eyes turning vicious. "Tristan Kane, don't get too cocky. You think you've really won? Let me tell you, I still have an ace up my sleeve." She pulled out a USB drive from her bag. "This contains confidential files from your company, stolen from your computer by Vivian. If you dare to charge us, I'll sell these files to your competitors. Then you won't just lose your house, you'll lose your job too." I looked at her and suddenly laughed. "Margot, do you know why I became an anti-fraud investigator? Because I know every trick scammers use, including this lowest level threat." I pulled out my laptop and opened a folder. All the files on that USB drive, I deliberately let Vivian steal. Each file has been specially processed. Once copied to an external device, it automatically triggers a tracking program. I pointed at the screen. "See, the current location of this USB drive is being tracked in real time. Every device it's been connected to has also been recorded. If you really sell these files, the buyer will be found by our company's legal department within 24 hours. Then it won't just be about you three. There'll also be industrial espionage charges." The USB drive fell from Margot's hand. She slumped on the sofa, completely drained. The investigators began the formal arrest procedure. Margot, suspected of contract fraud, loan fraud, forgery of documents. Garrett, suspected of contract fraud, loan fraud, illegal asset transfer. Vivian, suspected of marriage fraud, contract fraud, loan fraud, theft of trade secrets. As each charge was read out, their faces grew darker. The moment Margot was handcuffed, she glared at me venomously. "You'll regret this," I sneered. "No, you're the ones who will regret this." The door closed, and the living room suddenly became quiet. I sat alone on the sofa, looking at the chaotic living room. My phone rang. It was Harrison. "Tristan, congratulations. Preliminary estimate, the total assets Vivian and her accomplices transferred is $670,000. Plus that $500,000 loan, all will be recovered. Also, we've applied to freeze those 2 offshore accounts. Though the process is a bit complicated, the money will definitely be recovered. Not only did you keep your house, you might even make a profit, because the money they illegally transferred, the court will order compensation." I nodded. "Thank you, Harrison." I hung up and walked to the window. The night was deep, the streets quiet. My phone rang again, a text from an unknown number. "Tristan, I'm Margot's lawyer. We'd like to discuss the possibility of a settlement. If you're willing to drop the charges, my client is willing to compensate $2 million. I glanced at it, deleted it directly, then blocked the number. $2 million? They think money can solve everything? This isn't about money. This is about principle. I opened my computer and began organizing the final evidence. Every bank record, every call recording, every photo, all organized meticulously. This evidence was enough to keep all 3 of them in prison for a very long time. The next morning, I went to the courthouse to formally file the lawsuit. The lawyer told me, based on the evidence, Margot and Garrett could face 8 to 10 years. Vivian could face 5 to 7. Also, in terms of civil compensation, you can claim emotional distress, property damage, attorney fees, etc., totaling possibly over $1.5 million. I nodded. I want them to pay the price they deserve. A week later, the trial. Vivian cried her heart out in court, saying she was deceived by Margot and Garrett, saying she truly loved me, saying she'd spend the rest of her life making amends. But evidence doesn't lie. Those chat records clearly showed that this plan was her idea from the very beginning. She actively contacted Garrett, actively proposed asset transfer, actively cooperated with forging signatures. Margot just helped perfect the plan. Garrett just provided technical support. The mastermind was Vivian. The judge announced the verdict. Margot, convicted of contract fraud and loan fraud, sentenced to 8 years imprisonment. Garrett, convicted of contract fraud, loan fraud, and illegal asset transfer, sentenced to 9 years imprisonment. Vivian, convicted of marriage fraud, contract fraud, loan fraud, and theft of trade secrets, multiple offenses combined, sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. Regarding civil compensation, the 3 defendants are jointly liable to compensate plaintiff Tristan Kane for property damage and emotional distress, totaling $1.8 million. Vivian collapsed in court and was taken away by bailiffs. Margot shouted at me, "You'll get what's coming to you." Garrett's face was ashen. I watched quietly as they were led away, my heart completely calm. Walking out of the courthouse, the sunlight was blinding. I took a deep breath, feeling an unprecedented sense of relief. My phone rang with a bank notification. "Dear Mr. Kane, your account has received a court execution payment of $1.8 million. I smiled. Not only did I recover the stolen money, but I also got additional compensation. More importantly, those 3 people would spend a long 10 years in prison. That evening, I invited Harrison and Serena to dinner to thank them for their help. "Tristan, your operation this time was truly textbook level." Harrison raised his glass. "From discovering the problem, collecting evidence, setting the trap to the final lawsuit, every step was perfect." Serena also said, "That fake $800,000 bonus document was a stroke of genius. Made them think they were about to strike it rich, but instead exposed all their cards. I just used their own tactics against them." I raised my glass. "They wanted to deceive me, so I showed them what a real con looks like." "To justice," Harrison said. "To justice." We clinked glasses. A month later, I sold that house. Too many bad memories. I didn't want to live there anymore. I bought a small apartment downtown, simple and comfortable, suitable for living alone. On moving day, I found Vivian's diary in the storage room of the old house. I opened the first page and saw her elegant handwriting. March 15, 2018. Met a man today named Tristan Kane. He's very honest, very easy to deceive. Mom said this kind of man is perfect for marriage because he's easy to control. I think Mom is right. So from the very beginning, I was just prey. 7 years of marriage was just a carefully planned scam. I tore out that page, lit it, and watched it turn to ash. Then I threw the entire diary in the trash. From today on, everything in the past becomes history. I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, looking at the city's nightscape. My phone rang with a notification from a dating app. "Someone is interested in your profile." I clicked to look, a girl who seemed very cheerful. But I closed the app directly. Right now, I don't want to start a new relationship. I need time to heal my wounds and rediscover myself. More importantly, I need to learn to trust again. Though it's difficult, I believe that someday I'll open my heart again. But before that day comes, I'll protect myself and won't easily trust anyone. My phone rang again. A message from Vivian from the detention center. "Tristan, I know I was wrong, but I truly loved you, truly. Those 6 months of happiness were real. My feelings for you were partly real. I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, but I hope you can live well. I'm sorry." I looked at this message and laughed. Loved me? If this is love, then I'd rather never have been loved. I deleted the message and completely blocked her number. From now on, there's no longer a person named Vivian in my world. 6 months later, I ran into an acquaintance in a cafe. It was Vivian's college classmate, Celeste. "Tristan, long time no see." She was very enthusiastic. We chatted for a while, then she suddenly lowered her voice. "I heard about what happened with Vivian. Honestly, I'm not surprised at all." "Why?" "Because she's always been that kind of person." Celeste sighed. "Her relationship with Margot is very twisted. Margot has taught her since childhood that women should learn to use men, that marriage is a transaction. Vivian had 3 boyfriends. Each one was scammed by her. The most was scammed out of $200,000. But she always got away with it because Margot always helped her smooth things over. I listened, my heart filled with mixed emotions. So I wasn't the first victim, and I won't be the last. If I hadn't discovered it in time, I might have lost everything by now. You're very lucky, Tristan, Celeste said. You discovered the truth in time and successfully fought back. Many people can't do that. I just didn't want to be a fool anymore, I said flatly. Back home, I opened my computer and began writing this story. I wanted to write down my experience for more people to see. Not to show off, not for revenge, but to warn those who might be experiencing the same thing. Don't trust blindly, don't compromise easily. When your partner starts attacking your control issues, be vigilant. When your mother-in-law starts bossing you around, be vigilant. When you discover any suspicious financial activity, be vigilant. Because scammers don't change, greed doesn't disappear. Your only protection is to stay clear-headed. I spent 3 hours writing this story and posted it online. Soon, there were hundreds of comments. Some said I did the right thing, some said I was too heartless, and others shared their own similar experiences. But the comment that impressed me most was this one. Thank you for your story. I just discovered my wife is transferring assets, and I was hesitating whether to pretend not to know. After reading your experience, I've decided when it's time to act, absolutely no mercy. I liked that comment. If my story can help even one person avoid my fate, it's worth it. A year later, my life completely got back on track. Work was going well, promotion and raise. The new apartment was also decorated warmly and comfortably. I even got a dog to keep me company in daily life. Occasionally, I would think of Vivian, but no longer with anger or sadness, rather a faint sense of gratitude. Grateful that I woke up in time, grateful I didn't continue being deceived. That day, I received a notice from the court. Vivian's application for sentence reduction was rejected. She still has 7 more years in prison. I looked at this notice without any emotional response. Her life has nothing to do with me anymore. I closed the notification and opened the dating app. This time, I didn't close it. I carefully looked at that girl's profile, then sent a message. Hello. My name is Tristan. A few seconds later, she replied. Hello. My name is Thea. We started chatting. This time, I'll be more cautious. But I won't refuse future possibilities because of past hurts. Because I believe there are still sincere people in this world. Still real feelings. I just need to stay clear-headed, stay vigilant while maintaining hope. Night fell. I stood on the balcony, looking at the myriad lights. In this city, there are countless people like me. Some are experiencing betrayal, some are healing, some are starting over. And I've already walked through the hardest part. The road ahead is still long, but I'm ready. I raised my coffee and said to the night sky, to the lessons of the past, to the possibilities of the future, to the self who never gives up. Then I drank it all. A new story begins now, and old scars will eventually become badges of honor.
That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.